Hello, Brad here. Susan, I'm just looking over the message that you sent the other day about your pieces here. You're trying to make a prop. It's a MacGuffin artifact or headdress. So it's not like the main character. This is just a thing the player will come across. If that's true, you may be overthinking a little bit. Think about it this way. In a studio setting, when you are working on assets, you are assigned like a backlog of assets, right? You've got things that you're building every single day, all the time. And generally, you have to get it good enough that it doesn't stick out as lower quality than everything else in the game to the player, while also fulfilling its purpose. In this regard, I think you might be putting a little too much pressure on yourself. If this was a hero asset, if this is a thing that the player is going to see constantly because it's like the back of their head for the main character, then yeah, the cloth treatment here might need a little bit of work. If this is just something that they're going to pick up one time and look at while you're playing the game, or a thing that they see from a distance, even, this is probably almost a little bit too busy. Because right now, trying to pick up on the ibex horn, pick up on the sun god symbol, there's a lot visually going on. You may want to think of, okay, if the player only takes one thing away from looking at this, what is the thing that's going to strike them? And just focus on the thing that's important and then delete everything that's not important. That's just one way of approaching this. I don't know the exact context you're using this in now. If it's just supposed to be like a thing of intrigue, I think of the Elder Scrolls and there's the big nasty trees and stuff, and it's symbolizing the corruption that's going on. If you want to read into it, and they're complicated just for the sake of being oppressive looking. So if this is something that's supposed to make the player feel a little bit creeped out, the complication is part of an uncertainty thing you're trying to project, then you're actually doing really good. Secondarily, I see how you have the cloth worked into your sort of your mock-up bash photo here, and that's cool. And what's going to be happening here in the 3D is anything that's sculpted, even though this is an organic thing, it's still essentially like a hard surface. So the cloth is going to stick out like a sore thumb until it's textured. For things like cloth, especially the cloth you've done in Marvelous, it's not really going to reflect well until it's in game and it's diffusing light properly. Think about what this is going to look like when this is a dingy material that's essentially just absorbing light and not giving off much specular reflection next to this horn, which is going to be like more shiny and polished. It's going to be a nice contrast, actually, especially if the wood here on the face, if this is like a polished wood next to a dingier fabric, it's going to frame this really nicely. I don't know what you have planned for behind the mask here. If it's going to be like some kind of otherworldly glow, or if it's going to be just darkness in there to give a hollow, empty sort of feeling, like soulless almost. These are the things I think about. And again, is this jewel going to be glowing? And really, what is this piece of jewelry made of? If it's supposed to be a piece of jewelry, I would think about going and putting like just some more like bevels in there. This is probably like a blocking. Now that I look at these little pieces, they look like they're laid in, perhaps not done. So that's the main thing I'm focused on. The tree branch here may be confusing the horn and then conflating the two different death symbols, having both the scarab and the horn. You're asking a lot of the player to understand that, unless it's the kind of thing that in the context of your game, the player has learned to look for. So that's what I would go for. It's an unfortunate but true adage that more players have been lost over a game developer assuming they knew more than they did than less than they did. So if you assume the players know less than they do, a few players may be irritated that you're repeating knowledge that they have, but more players will be thankful that they don't get lost because they didn't know the thing you assumed they did. I know that's a confusing word salad of a statement, but when we're going for meaning, the meaning has to be transparent enough for the player to get it from the context. If the meaning behind things is too opaque, the meaning is lost. I hope that's helpful. You asked about specific artists, and not that there's nobody jumps to mind, but if I was just going to search up some stuff, I would go over to ArtStation and I would look up Elden Ring. And because a lot of the artists that work on that have posted dumps of their work. And so there's going to be a lot of examples. You can look at up close what armor and stuff looks like, how they handled fabric. Look at this warm fabric. Oh, yes, wonderful. And so if this is the vibe you're going for, this very gritty realism, pull from recent examples to see what people that are on the cutting edge are doing. And so here's an example. If you look at the cloth on this dude down here, up close and you're just looking at the cloth, it actually is bad. It's just burlap. But again, in real life, this isn't like a couture piece of clothing. It is literally just a rectangular flap of sack. So you don't have to, it doesn't have to be elegant and perfect and whatever. And so he comes across a little bit plain because it is a little bit plain, but that's the point, putting somebody dressed in burlap versus somebody wearing this intricate detail armor. That'd be my suggestion is go to your source material and borrow liberally. There's no such thing as copyright of inspiration is inspiration. Every pro I know has screenshots up of their favorite games, their favorite influences, and is liberally lifting the things that they love and embellishing it to make it their own. Alrighty. I hope that helps. If you have specific questions, shoot them over to me in Slack and I'll answer them best I can. All right. Take care.